Hey there, you're in the writing shed with Dani Pescuma. So grab a cuppa, settle down, and let's begin. So today I want to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it for a moment before you answer. When you imagine writing, when you close your eyes and picture yourself sitting down with a pen and a blank page, what are you writing? Is it your thoughts? Is it about your day, about your feelings, about your worries? The thing that happened last Tuesday that you still haven't quite processed, a place to put things so they stop circling in your head at 3 in the morning? Or is it something else? Maybe it's a character, a scene, a world that doesn't exist yet, but somehow feels more real than the one you're sitting in right now. For example, I don't know, a woman walking into a room you've never been in, a conversation you've been turning over in your imagination for weeks. Because here's what I've noticed in many years of helping women to write. These are not the same thing, and yet we treat them as if they are. We kind of bundle them together under the word writing, and we assume that if we are doing one, we're also doing the other. Or we assume that one is serious and real, and the other one is simply indulgent and tiny little bit embarrassing. Okay, today I want to take them apart and show you what lives inside each one and why, in my honest opinion, of course, you might need both. So this is episode 7 in the writing shed, and it's called The Difference Between Journaling and Creative Writing and Why You Might Need Both. So, if you already know me, you know that for a long, long time I've been a journaler, right? I don't write in it every single day, but when I journal, I write about everything and anything. My relationships, my work, my fears, the how particular days happen, conversations that I can't get out of my mind, things I wished I had said and things I also wished I hadn't said. It's been very, very useful for me and at times life-saving in that quiet, unremarkable way that writing can be life-saving. Not exactly dramatic, but sometimes dramatic. I love a good drama. But just the difference between drowning in something and being able to see it clearly from the shore. But here's what I also noticed. My journal has kept me very close to myself. Everything ended up circling back to me. My feelings, my interpretations of situations, of my own feelings, of people's other feelings, my story. And even when I was writing about other people, I was really writing about how those people made me feel. So the journal was a mirror, uh, a beautiful, very useful, and very honest mirror. And then one day I realized something changing. I started with a character, a woman who was not me. Um, if you know about my first novel, Love and Pizza. It, you know that it's about a person that I love and care about very much. So in a moment of anger, on behalf of that person, because I love and care about her so much, I started writing about a woman who was not me, except that as the story progressed, she was me in many more ways that mattered that I thought it could be. She was braver than me. She said the things I never said. She walked into rooms I would have stood outside of. She made choices I was afraid to make. And then I realized that this was a completely different kind of writing, not less personal, in some aspect, even more personal. But the direction of travel was different because instead of looking inward, I was looking outward. And I ended up finding myself there, sometimes in some moments in disguise, saying true things in someone else's voice. And that, I think, is the essential difference. So let me tell you what I think journaling is really for. And I say this with a lot of affection because I still journal. I will always journal. And if I stopped journal, I would be a mess, even though I have my lovely therapist. So journaling is for processing, for untangling, for taking the knot of a day or an emotion or a conversation and laying it out flat on the page so you can see the shape of it. Journaling is remarkably good at this, better than talking in some ways, because when you journal, no one is listening, which means there is no performance, there is no agenda, there is no pleasing whoever you're talking to. There is no one to reassure or protect or manage. It's just you and the page working things out, trying to figure things out. And I think that journaling is also brilliant for noticing, for training yourself to pay attention, for writing down the thought or the observation before it disappears, because you know from experience that it will disappear. You will probably forget it. And that thought is a kind of thought worth keeping. If you journal already, you probably know this. You know the particular relief of a page that holds something you couldn't hold in your head any longer. You know the way writing something down can make it feel smaller or more manageable, or occasionally much larger and more important than you had realized. Journaling is a conversation with yourself, and it is one of the most valuable conversations you can have. But here's what creative writing does that journaling can't. It gives you permission to be someone else for a while. And in being someone else, to tell the truest version of your own story, the one you couldn't tell directly because it was too close or too raw or too something you hadn't fully understood yet. Think about the novels that you've read that you never forgot. The ones that felt when you were reading them like the author had somehow climbed inside your chest and written down the thing you had been carrying, but you could never name. That is not an accident. That is a writer who found a way to say a true thing, but by making it fictional, by giving it to the character, to a scene, to a story, for them to say those things rather than writing it in a journal. Creative writing creates distance, and distance, counterintuitively, can bring you closer to the truth. And there is also something else creative writing does that journaling can't. It builds a world. It makes something that didn't exist before. A character who will live in someone else's imagination. A story that might one day do for a reader what someone else's story once did for you. Climb inside their chest and name the unnamed thing. That's a different kind of magic, right? And I think maybe you might be ready for it. The poet Rilke wrote letters, extraordinary, searching letters to a young poet who had written to him asking for guidance. And what Rilke told him again and again and again was this: go inward. Write from the place that is most private, most true, most yours. But then he also said, write about the world, the things you see, the people you meet, the lemon tree in your courtyard, the old man at the corner of your street. And I've always thought that those two instructions are not in conflict. They are, in fact, the same instruction, because the most personal writing and the most outward facing writing come from exactly the same source, which is the honest, attentive, courageous act of looking and then finding the words. So, journaling, in a way, teaches us to look inward, and creative writing teaches us to look outward. And the best writing, the writing that lasts, the writing that matters, does both things at once. So, which one are you? Are you the person who journals obsessively, but has always been secretly curious about fiction, about what it would feel like to create a world, to invent a person, to write a scene that came entirely from your imagination? Or are you the person who has always wanted to write stories, but keeps gravitating towards the journal instead because it feels safer, it feels less exposed, and obviously less likely to be judged? Both are valid, both are writing, both are yours. But today I want to suggest something. The one that makes you slightly nervous, the one you keep circling but not quite landing on, might be the one that's waiting for you. So, hear this. Here's my invitation for you for this week. I want you to try the other one, just once, for 10 minutes. If you are a journal writer, open a new page and begin a sentence with, she walked into the room and don't think, don't plan, just follow her. See where she goes. See what she does in that room. See who's waiting there for her. What does the room look like? But if you are a fiction writer who has been avoiding the journal, open a page and write one true thing about today. Not for anyone to read, not to become a story, for you. Just something like what happened and how it felt. 10 minutes, one experiment. And if today made you want to do more than 10 minutes, if there is a page waiting for you that you haven't opened yet, I'd like to introduce you to waltz into writing, which is the gentlest possible way to begin. You do it at your own pace. It usually takes an hour, a little music, a blank page that becomes a first paragraph or a first page. It's only £7, and I will leave the link in the episode notes. And to be honest with you, it might be the best hour you give yourself this week. But if you are already a fiction writer, I'm going to invite you to try something else. There is an ebook called Feel, Write, Blossom, and it's all about expressive writing. And it's an amazing book with exercises and things that are going to make you see your inward in a different way. It's also £7, and I will leave the link in the episode notes. So that is all from the shed for today. As I always say, take whatever stayed with you, a thought, a feeling, a single line, and let it land somewhere. Your notebook is always waiting for you. And until next Tuesday, keep writing, keep imagining, and remember, your characters are already waiting. You just have to open the door. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.